friends. Hello, hello. Good morning. Sometimes the time just gets away from you. Hope you are well this morning. Hi, Vicky. Good morning to you. Doing okay? Good morning, friends. Hi, Sharon Landry. Glad that you are here. Hey, John. Great to see you this weekend. Such a joy. You don't know, John made the trek down from New Hampshire. He and Sarah came and worshipped on Sunday. It was such a gift to see them. Like, oh, so great. Uh, you had a beautiful. It is a beautiful day out. Good morning, Karen. Hello, Bonnie. Good morning. You guys are on my heart these days. Good morning, Donna. Hello. Hope you and Phyllis are doing okay. Hope your mom's trip journey into Hill House has been okay. I hope that's going well. And oh, can you not hear me? Like, all right. Am I just nabbering away here and nobody can hear me? Let me see what we got here. How's that? A little better? Okay. Thanks. Are we doing better now? How about that? Is that better, friends? Oh, good. All right. We are at it. I hope you are. Thanks, everybody. Yes. Hey. All right. Sorry about that. Hello, Jamie. Glad you're here. So very good. You know, it's alive. We do it live. So yeah, thank you. So it was great. John and Sarah came down and worshipped with us this week on Easter. It's such a joy to see them. Donna, I hope your mom is doing okay and finding her way into Hill House. Jamie with Mr. B under the bridge. We can hear you now. Oh, excellent. Hey, Mr. B. Hope all is well and you're enjoying this beautiful day. Got mom moved yesterday. Very good. So for those of you who are praying types, I just want to share a connection with a family here in the church so this is their story of their past few days. John came in. You may or may not know these folks, but John went in for surgery on Thursday on his elbow. The surgery went okay, but he's recovering from that. On Thursday night, their son, Don and John's son, Cameron, was in an accident at work, and he had a big injury on his head. He has a brain bleed. He also has some other injuries, but he's really he's cognitively compromised right now. I mean, the expectation is he'll heal, but he is in the hospital, and Dawn yesterday ended up going into the hospital with internal bleeding, and so is expected to go into surgery sometime today. Literally, this family who was just bopping along last week, living their life, all three of them are facing major health crises right in the middle of their days. So you may not know them. I'm just using their name. Don't think you can necessarily put a face to a name, but I'm just telling you the story so that you might pray for them. They've been kind of off and on connected with the church in some ways, but just so please, it is so much, and they're carrying a lot in these days. So please, just if we are a community that prays for folks, and so that we might do so, and also that we might keep in mind UMass Dartmouth and that whole community. They lost not one but two students last week to car accidents and to injuries. Really uncommon there, but really that community, that student community is really reeling from grief in a lot of ways. So keep them in your prayers as well. So I just offer our beginning this morning to remember that just as a way of reminding us that we are a community here, us little 1111 folks, whether you're finding us anew or whether you're here, a part of our journey regularly. Just know that we, as we gather in prayer, as we gather in caring for these people that we don't know and will probably never know, but that as we lift it up to God, the angels go to work, that the Holy Spirit moves, and that wonderful things can happen in the midst of hard things. Which gets us to where we want to go here today at 11:11. So welcome on this day that I pray that all is well with you, and that we might begin our journey here on this, the 11th day of April, this Tuesday, right after Easter. So I wasn't sure what to do today, and I really just wanted to, since we're after Easter, I just wanted to share with you my favorite Easter story and talk about it a little bit, because I really believe, and you might be able to figure out why it's my favorite or not, and that's not important, but because of the elements of what we find in this story and how Christ is revealed after death and into new life. I think it has it's. I really believe you could spend a lifetime kind of mining this story for what it has to say to us about how we are to be in this world, and about what we are to look for, and about what we're to offer up, what we're to let go of, and what we're to hold on to. And what I think maybe we're to relax into might be a best way to say it. What can we trust? And it's my thing, we all tell ourselves a story, right? We tell ourselves stories every day. We wouldn't get out of bed if we didn't tell ourselves a story. Like I gotta go down and get some breakfast. Like we tell ourselves, like there's always this running narrative in our head, and we can sometimes it tells us about how good we are. Like, oh, look at me being a good little boy, or tell me like, oh, you're a horrible person, and your feet stink, and that there's always these running narratives in our life. And I think in some ways there's this beginning narrative, and I think part of the story tells us also how we're to encounter and treat this narrative of life. So I'm going to set us over just a tad. So this is from Luke 24. This was the road to Emmaus story, is what it's traditionally known as. But I just invite you to, it's a long story. I just invite you to hear it. Now when that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" And they stood still, looking sad. And then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" And he asked them, "What things?" And they replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some of our women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning. And when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen visions of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as they had said, but they did not see him. And then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into glory?" And then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near the village to where they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." And so he went in to stay with them. And when he was at the table with them, he took bread and blessed and broke it and gave it to them. And then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, and while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. And they were saying, "The Lord is risen. Indeed, he has appeared to Simon." And then they told what had happened on the road and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of bread. There's, as I said, I hope you hear that and just let it wash over you. What we think about when we say that we believe or we don't believe, or we have doubts or we don't have doubts, or we see or we do not see in our lives, all of this it sounds a lot like this journey, doesn't it? It sounds a lot like these places where we spend most of the journey not seeing Jesus. We spend most of the journey in some ways kind of recounting the events of what's going on in life, but not really necessarily always being a protagonist in them. We spend a part of our days in our process being unsure how things are unfolding in our life. And yet what we find here is there are these moments in which our hearts burn. It almost always requires us to be looking back to see them. Were not our hearts burning when he was explaining the scriptures? Kierkegaard, towards the end of his life, wrote a little tiny book where he really catalogs part of his spiritual journey. And he says, it was as if there was a hand upon my life, and that at particular junctures, some of them what I knew to be significant, some of them that were seemingly untold and unaware of, that would turn and would lean and would inform these choices and these moments that I'd make. And he says it was as if there was an invisible hand guiding me along my path. Friends, it's hard for us to see the moments when Christ is so close, when Christ is actually speaking to us of all the great things that are happening in our life. But we know what it feels like. We know the experience of it. And often when we think back to moments of high connection with God, we think back to moments of great love. We think back to moments of being, just in the groove, when we're of service, when we're rejoicing in the goodness and the welfare of people we love and the people and the world, when great and wonderful things are happening and unfolding in the world, that we can look back at those and we know those moments exist. But in the moment of them, we're often just in them, and we don't necessarily see the face of Jesus explaining them to us. We don't see that they were just divine gifts given to us. The the getting married, or the birth of a child, or the deep spiritual moments of our life, they burn. Were our hearts not burning? And yet, at the same time, we rarely can say, "Oh, and there was Christ right in the middle of it." And that doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make us unfaithful. It doesn't make us. It's simply how we're wired. It's simply what this journey unfolds is that we get to have an experience of this life as if it is our own to some degree or another. And yet when we look back, we see it as gift and gift and gift again. And that more often than not, what we encounter in our life in the divine is really glimpses. These glimpses moments. These moments when the bread is broken. These moments when we know who it is, but we can't even quite say it. These moments when the presence is upon us. But that's just the thing, isn't it? Probably my favorite thing about this story is that in the midst that is all that these disciples who are going the wrong direction, by the way, that they're actually running from Jerusalem. They are on the lam. They believe the cops are going to get them. They believe they have been abandoned. They believe that nothing good is going to happen. And they are literally moving in the wrong direction. They are running away from Jerusalem. They're running away from the divine task in which they've given. And in the middle of that, Jesus is with them every step of the way. They may know it. They may not know it. They may see his presence. They may just feel his presence. My brother is a great mechanic. When I say great, he's a great engineer. He is truly an engine whisperer. And often when you're trying to work on something on an engine, we always want to, we're a visual people. We always want to see something, right? We want to be able to see, like, this is where the nut goes on the stud so that we can turn it down and we can make it fit. This is where the bolt goes in the hole, and we want to see the hole so we can put the bolt in. But one of the things he said years ago, which I'll never forget, he says, it's fine to be able to see, like when you're trying to work on something, it's fine to be able to see the thing, but it's usually a lot better to feel it. Are you catching it? It's fine to be able to see how to put things together, but it's actually usually a lot better to feel it, to feel the place where the world reconnects, to feel the place where things are put together again, to feel the place where our hearts burned on the road with the one who made us. These are not abstract stories. These are our story, in which we are unfolding, in which we are breaking bread with the one who made us. And sometimes we see it, but rarely. But that's not what matters. That's not what matters. There will be bad days. There will be days in which our hearts are broken open because we believe that all that was going to save us has come undone. And yet in the middle of that, it is the knowledge of Christ with us, Christ informing us, even though we might not know how, we might not recognize his voice, we might not know that it might come to us in a song on the radio, or in a passage in a book, or in a random comment by a stranger. It may come to us in any million different ways. It might come to us in a bird perched on a branch pecking at a window. It may come to us in a bolt that we can't seem to get in that we must just simply feel its way into the reassembly of our lives. Friends, we're in this Eastertide when the disciples go and declare to their friends, "The Lord is risen indeed." And to recount the story of what had happened to them on the road. And I really think it's the best. It's the best Easter present. It's better than any bunny, chocolate, or hollow or solid. Doesn't matter. It's better than any basket. It's better than any sweet. It's better than any flower. It's better than any gift we could get. This telling of the story of the road, where we heard Jesus and our hearts burned, where we saw Jesus and he fed us, where we journeyed with Jesus and we didn't even know it, and yet we were encouraged and our griefs unpacked along the way, so that we might not continue to carry them, but we might leave them on the side of the road, right where they belong. Friends, I hope you'll tell your story. You'll tell your Easter stories to each other in these days. Tell your Easter stories to anybody who will listen. Tell your Easter stories in the places that you saw the face of Christ, where you were nourished, when you were on the lam and you were lost, in the places where you found beauty when you thought beauty was dead, in the places in which you were fed when you thought there was nothing that could touch the emptiness in your soul, in the places where you felt it come together, even though you couldn't see it yet. Friends, I hope this is part of how maybe you'll keep this Easter tide, these 50 days to Pentecost, of telling our stories in this beautiful journey that brings us, even though we were headed in the wrong direction, brings us back to the holy city, brings us back to Jerusalem itself and the very center of the world and ourselves. I want to leave you with a prayer today. It's a prayer by a guy by the name of Philip Newell. I love this prayer. He's a Celtic scholar, and I'm really indebted to John and Sarah, for particularly Sarah's mom, for much of the Celtic work. They gave me a big chunk of the books that you see up there was from her mom, that did a big deep dive on Celtic spirituality. And Philip Newell is one of those guys. He's one of those super smart guys, but he also has this beautifully soulful sense. So I want to leave you with this prayer. Early in the morning, I seek your presence, O God, not because you are ever absent from me, but because often I am absent from you, at the heart of each moment, where you forever dwell. In the rising of the sun, in the unfolding color and shape of the morning, open my eyes to the mystery of this moment, that in every moment of the day I may know your life-giving presence. Open my eyes to this moment, that in every moment I may know you as the one who is always now. Peace and grace to you, my friends. I hope you'll keep those in mind. One other prayer, our friend Dottie, who is Linda Fernandes' mom, had a fall this weekend too, and she bumped her head, and so she is recovering as well. So if you can keep Dottie in mind, that would be great. So let us tell our stories. Let us be about our journeys. Let us see where we see. Let us hear where we hear. But let us tell the stories of an Easter people to each other and to a world that so desperately needs them. Peace and grace to you, my friends, and we'll pick it up tomorrow with another 11:11.